Hello, everyone. Welcome to MCD Live. In today's session, I hope all of you had a great day or about to have a great good day ahead. So, today we will be talking about the science behind flourishing. Uh, and before we try to understand the science behind flourishing, we're going to understand what flourishing actually means. So, we're going to understand how and what allows human beings to actually move beyond just surviving. Most of us, we are just living our lives in a survival mode. So, how do we get past that survival mode and actually start flourishing? Flourishing, or you can say actually start living. Now, why does that question come to our mind? Is because a large part of our history, of psychological history, researchers and mental health professionals, their entire focus is on human suffering. They were mostly focused on studying depression, the causes of anxiety, trauma, stress, basically most of pathologies. So we were just viewing mental health from a pathological view that our primary concern as mental health professionals in the history uh, has been on focusing, uh, improving illnesses, treating illnesses, and understanding what is causing a psychopathology or a mental disorder or mental illness. Of course, this is very important. Of course, because of the reason that we have conducted these researches, at this point, we are aware. We know what works for a certain mental health disorder and everything. But throughout the time, researchers have also, started understanding and trying to understand something very important and different to this. Right. Now, people may not have a mental health disorder. They may not be depressed. They may not be anxious. They may not have traumatic stress disorder. But at the same time, it does not mean that they have a good psychological well being. It does not mean that they have the presence of goodness or presence in their psychological health. A person can be functioning absolutely fine in their daily life. They may be going out for work, they may be attending college, they may be doing courses, they may be doing absolutely everything and have no psychiatric diagnosis. And at the same time, if you give them a scale, a tool for self satisfaction, self esteem, and self belief, that is something they would score very low on. And they may not have a very good sense of purpose. A lack of purpose would be there. They would be feeling like they are not reaching their full potential. They may have things going on in their daily life. Now, now this brings psychologists to a question that what is something that is causing people to struggle? So, when you ask that question, that what is causing people to struggle, at the same time, you may also come across a question that what will actually help people to grow on the other side? What will help them adapt and what will help them to function at their best selves? Last time, someone asked a question in the group chat about how to deal with feelings of perfectionism, how to get out of that. So it is a mindset. When you are constantly struggling to reach a sense of perfectionism, you are you are getting out of touch with reality. And that is what our session today is all about. So, what is flourishing? What is languishing? We will be getting into it. First, of course, as always, it's very important to be present, very important to be mentally present and and be there while we are in the session. It's very important that We have two people in here. Let me, okay, why are they not? Yeah, so it's very important to bring our attention to be where we are instead of it revolving somewhere else. So we need to be um, right here, right now, in order to understand what we are going to learn today. So I want all of you to join me in this mindfulness activity. This will actually help you feel aware of your current emotions, your current thoughts. So I want you all to take a moment and just relax your bodies and take a comfortable position wherever you are sitting. Just take a comfortable position. If you're not sitting comfortably, just try to sit somewhere that will be much more comfortable. And I want all of you to take this particular moment and try to notice your internal state. What is going on inside of your heart, inside of your mind, and try to notice your breath for a few moments, for a few seconds. Try to focus on your breath. Try to notice how you are breathing. What is the breathing pattern? Try to just observe what is going on as your chest is expanding and relaxing. Don't try to alter your breath. Just let it be. Let it flow naturally the way it usually does. Just observe it. Don't change anything. And try to bring your focus entirely towards your thoughts. And as you do that, if you are comfortable, I believe this is the most important part of any mindfulness activity that we do, because it helps you much better when you close your eyes, and it helps you concentrate entirely instead of any visual distractions you may have around. It helps you uh, look towards the inside. So I want you to gently close your eyes if you are comfortable, if you feel comfortable doing so, and just notice and observe your thoughts and and reflect what is your current state of mind. What is your current mental state? Are you feeling focused? Are you anxious? Are you worried about something? Are you tired? Is there something that is just going on and on in your mind and you're not able to find a solution to that? What is it? What is that thought in your mind? Or maybe there is nothing wrong that's going around you, and maybe it's just your yearning to reach your perfect state of mind, which you're not able to accomplish, but it's there. That thought is not letting you be at peace. That thought alone is exhausting you. What is it? What is it that is troubling your peace and stopping you from flourishing? Just observe that thought. Just look at that thought. And there is absolutely no need to change it. You don't have to. That's not your job. You don't have to do it right now. At this moment, your only job is to notice and take a take a deep breath in through your nose. Hold in your breath for 2 seconds and then breathe out from your mouth. Now let's do it once again. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out from your mouth. Let's do it again. Breathe in through your nose and breathe out from. Take 2 to 3 seconds, just staying that way. You looked at your thoughts. Of course, they trouble us sometimes, but they are just thoughts. And as much as they help us take action, they should not they should not stop the process of flourishing. And before we understand what flourishing is, I want to know your understanding of flourishing, your understanding of growth, adapting. You can share it in the chat box, and I will be reading it at the end of the session. For now, let's try to understand what flourishing is. And to understand what it is, we need to understand mental health beyond the scope of just illnesses and psychopathology, as I said. So there's a psychologist. When you talk about psychology, this is one name that is very well known. It's Corey, psychologist Corey Kias, and his mental health continuum model is one of the most known models in reference to this concept. So, mental health was primarily, as I shared with you, was just viewed from a sense of psychopathology. But later on, you know what research suggested that it's much, much, much more complex. A person can have little to no symptoms of mental illness, but they would still be experiencing poor psychological well-being. Now, this state of poor psychological well-being and not like being able to you may be able to go to work, you will be able to complete your responsibility, you will be able to interact with your parents, your families, your spouse, everybody. You will be doing everything, and at the same time, internally, you will be feeling very, very poor when you talk about your internal feelings, internal psychological well being, right? So, that state is known as languishing. Languishing is one side, right? Absence of psychopathology, but still you are not feeling content. There is no contentment. At the other end, we have flourishing. In this continuum, this model of mental health model of created by a psychologist, he said the other end is flourishing. Flourishing person will be experiencing positive functioning, personal growth. They will be experiencing they will be interacting with people, but at the same time, that interaction is going to feel meaningful for them. They will be having a sense of connection with life. Now, this is the model that actually it changed the way people, psychologists and mental health professionals, they understood mental health because it it showed that treatment and prevention is uh, is not the only part of the treatment is not the only part of the picture, and our goal is not just to reduce suffering. It doesn't mean that people who are flourishing, they won't be suffering, or they won't be going through something distressing. They won't have sadness. It's just that you will be experiencing a range of emotions, and at the same time you build a psychological resource that will help you thrive, that will help you not remain stable, constant, or you can say a better word would be to stuck, not remaining stuck in your psychological state. Now, when we talk about neuroplasticity, time and time again in our sessions and in our courses as well, we have talked about neuroplasticity. A lot of, just similarly, a lot of years back, for a lot of time in histories, we believe that our brain is fixed. But our brain is not fixed. It is not fixed. It's constantly changing. It's constantly reorganizing itself by forming new connections, by strengthening our existing pathways. In every single experience of our life, it has an influence on the brain. Like if the entire course, our entire Mighty Champions is believed to be designed on the idea that we are learning a skill. Every new skill that we learn, a habit that we develop, it's all done through the process of neuroplasticity. That is what science says. So, when we are practicing emotional regulation, when we are building good relationships, and then we are challenging old patterns that may be unhealthy, we are we are bringing changes in our neural functioning, right? And this is the first thing that explains the process of flourishing. That is, when we talk about human development does not, it does not stop after childhood or adolescence, and we don't become static throughout our adulthood. We all have the capacity to continue growing, and we all carry that capacity within us throughout our lives. And I'm talking about psychological capacity. A person cannot be permanently defined by their past experiences and mistakes or their limitations. So that is what we mean by flourishing, that we have the ability to adapt, and that adaptability, that ability to adapt, to actually implement it, we need to practice. We need to keep on practicing. We need to keep on learning. That is the idea behind flourishing, rather than staying static throughout the course of our life. Now, another theory that actually explains flourishing is the self-determination theory, which means that human beings have basically three fundamental psychological needs that support your healthy development. The first essential need that we as human beings have is the need for autonomy, the need to feel ownership over our lives. And it refers to experiencing a sense of choice and a control over our actions. And when people feel that they are making decisions based on their own values rather than just simply responding to pressure, social pressure, family pressure, or you can say any kind of pressure, academic pressure, anything that else apart from our own autonomy that's directing our actions, of course it's going to affect our psychological well-being. We're not developing a pathology, but at the same time we are not doing that well mentally. We are not feeling good about it. At the same time, when we are practicing autonomy, when we are taking independent decisions, we experience greater motivation, we experience better psychological well-being. Now, this does not mean that we do whatever we want without responsibility. Of course, we need to be responsible in our choices. We need to make sure that our choices are in line with our values. They are in line with what is right. It is in line with social responsibility, personal responsibility, right? So the first thing that affects flourishing is a sense of autonomy, having the choice to make independent uh, decision making without any pressure, any societal pressure, external, internal, any sort of. The second need that is talked about is competence in this theory. The need to feel capable. We, as human beings, we all understand that we all have a natural need to grow and to be the best selves. And competence, when we talk about competence, it refers to the feeling that uh, we can learn, we can improve, we can become effective in different areas of life. And when people they experience progress, even small progress, it actually strengthens their confidence and motivation. So learning and development, when we are learning something, when we accomplish something, when we accomplish a goal, it also helps us thrive. It also conforms to the notion, to the idea that deep down we do have a sense of competence. We are competent, we can do something. We're not completely incapable. We do have competence. So this is the second need. The third need is the need for connection, or in word we call it the need for relatedness, the need for belongingness. And we are all social animals. Human beings are known as social animals. So we all have a deep psychological need to feel understood, to be valued, to be connected. And healthy relationships, basically, what do they do in this flourishing? think. We get emotional support from people around us. We feel a sense of security, a sense of belonging if we have someone by the end of the day who tells us by sitting next to our side that you did good enough during the day and I'm proud of you. You did really well. You couldn't have done any better. You have done amazing. How much helpful is that going to be in comparison to someone who does not have someone next to them telling them something like this? So, healthy relationships, a sense of belongingness, a sense of relatedness, it equally helps in you improving your psychological well-being and improves your sense of growth, a sense of adapting, sense it brings about a need to do more, not out of your need to be perfect. Your intention matters. Here last time as well, when we were talking about this, I talked about renewing your intentions, focusing on your intention. Your intention is not here to be perfect. Your intention is to get to your best sense of self. Best sense of self means doing what is best, keeping in mind your capabilities, doing the best by utilizing your capabilities and not exhausting yourself by going beyond that. So here are the three needs when we talk about this theory that are recognized. One is the need for autonomy. The second is the need for competence, and the third is the need for relatedness. And they all contribute towards the idea of flourishing. Then another fascinating concept is it's the concept of flow. What is flow? Flow is a state of mind, or you can say, you must have heard of the term phrase "go with the flow," right? So this is exactly what is we are talking about right now. Flow is a state where people feel completely absorbed in an activity. They experience deep concentration when they are doing something. They feel a sense of control. They have reduced self-consciousness, a feeling that is not that prolonged. Of course, when we are in a, you're in a state of flow, that's not a very prolonged feeling, but of course at one point, when you are doing something, you are completely involved in it, right? It is a feeling that comes quickly and passes quickly. How does that happen? How then that happens when you have a balance between challenge and ability. If something is too easy, we easily become bored. When we try to do something that we can easily do, it's not challenging. It's not something that tests our ability, right? It's not challenging at all. So it makes us feel bored. And if something feels impossible, we become exhausted, we become overwhelmed. But when our skills meet an appropriate challenge, and at the same time, it's keeping a balance between our ability and challenging, as it's challenging as well. What does it do? It makes us feel deeply engaged. We get involved in it because at some point we are feeling challenged. At the same point, we are feeling curious to do something, and at the same time, we believe that we know deep down that I can do this. And once we do this, something that we end up achieving, it brings a sense of achievement, a sense of competence. So it can happen in many areas of life, depending on what your priorities in life are, what your interests in life are. For an athlete, a flow can be achieved when they are competing in a competition. For someone who sings, a musician, they can achieve flow when they are performing on stage. And for a researcher like us, we can gain it when we are solving a difficult problem. We can when we get new findings out of a research study. So that is how we get flow. So we can uh, we can understand that we can actually achieve that by utilizing our values, by utilizing our strengths. So this is how we can say that before we actually come to you, actually come to you and try to understand your viewpoints on flourishing and how we can flourish. I would definitely like you to share your viewpoints. What you need to focus on yourself every single day when you wake up. and in the morning every time. When you are having breakfast, when you're having tea, when you're having coffee, sit down for a while and try to reflect on a few questions. Like it could be 1 day or 2 days, or if you feel easy, if you feel it's easy, you can keep on doing it every day and make it like a habit. You need to ask yourself that what areas of my life, what parts of my life, what aspects of my life actually contribute towards my growth? What are the parts of my life that support my growth, that support my sense of adapting, sense of flourishing? Once you are able to answer that, I can say that my what is my part of life that supports it? I would say my ability to write. I write my ability to design something, my ability to design a program or something like that. That is one part of my life that is actually supporting my growth. It could be a skill as well. It could be any kind of skill. It could be a life skill. It could be any kind of skill. Then then the second thing you should ask yourself is, where in my life do I feel a sense of competence and progress? Is your career supporting your sense of competence? Is it supporting your sense of progress? And then you ask yourself, where do I actually experience genuine connection? Do I have someone in my life who helps me feel that sense of connection? Or if not, people have pets, people love nature, they are able to connect with the nature, they're able to go out and sit out for 5 to 10 minutes, and that helps them feel better, right? So doesn't mean if someone is doesn't have a human being around them, doesn't mean if they're not getting support from people, they don't have any sort of support at all. You can feel the nature trying to connect with you when you try to connect with nature. It it's definitely possible. When you try to engage in nature, nature does try to connect back, and it does happen. And when once you are done asking these questions, tell yourself that you have the ability to flourish, you have the ability to grow, to adapt, because this is something that we can say that we cannot use this as an excuse that we cannot grow. Science has time and time again proven that our brains do have the ability to grow. It does have the ability to change. And that change requires a lot of reflection, a lot of training that you do to your own self by learning, by practicing all the things that we are learning in these sessions. So, this is something that we need to do. And it is also important that we believe completely believe that and have firm faith on this, that flourishing does not mean that you don't have problems in your life. Flourishing does not mean that that you don't have difficulties in your life. It just means that you're dealing with them, and at the same time you have a goal and direction in your life. So it's very important to keep this in your mind. uh, Once you start to understand this, it becomes much easier in developing a good mental health and good psychological well-being. So, Vardhini, if one is working in a field or doing something of their passion, they are in flow. Yes, you do not even notice. Get time, your energy level rises, and you are in sync with your thoughts. Your values, autonomy are in sync. Absolutely. Absolutely right. That's completely true. Something that you love doing, something that you feel like this is the purpose. You know, when you have a sense of purpose in life, that is one component that does support your ability to flourish. That and 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 that does help you develop that flow so you can keep on flourishing once you have a sense of purpose. And it gets it takes people years before they are able to get to that point. If you feel like you're still behind in life, if you're in your 20s and 30s, um, you need to take a look at the monks who are spending their entire lifetimes trying to understand their sense of purpose. And that does bring about a sense of relief that, yeah, we're still nowhere near that. But you are constantly moving towards it. You are constantly um, you're not static. You're not supposed to stay static. Everything that is happening around you, it is contributing to your mental well-being in some way or the other, and to your sense of purpose as well. You are not stuck. It's just a matter of reflection and realization that you have to do by looking in your mind, looking in your heart, and understanding what is needed. Understanding these three things. Are you making decisions and choices by your choice? And are they not pressurized choices? And are they socially responsible? Secondly, are you having someone around you to connect with, to feel belongingness to? And the third thing, what was the third thing? Competence. Competence. And very important that you are doing what you think you are able to do and try to do the best that you can. Perfectionism is a myth, but being the best of your abilities is not. So try to do as much as you can possibly do in order to feel psychologically well. And would anybody like to share anything before we can call it a day? Vardhini, thank you so much. You have always been very, very engaging throughout the session every time we have one. So that's I always love your insights. So, do we have anything, anyone who wants to share anything? If not, then we can call it a day, right? All right, I think
So
so.
this is Vardini, quick question. So when you do your sessions with your clients, how long is your session? How long and how many times does a client come for mental health wellness? Like, you know?
Are you talking about individual sessions with my clients?
Yes, yes.
All right, so it varies. Initial sessions are practically much longer. They last for 70 to 90 minutes. And then follow-ups depending on the goal of our sessions. It entirely depends on that. Sometimes it lasts for 60 minutes, sometimes it goes on till
Okay,
65, 70 minutes. Entirely it varies from person to
okay.
person, goal to goal. So it's not very, standard
It's
for
not
everybody.
static. Okay.
Yeah.
How many sessions do you recommend that a person attends if they want
Again,
to?
depends on the prognosis and the condition that they have been carrying and the issue that they're. It depends entirely on the person. It's mental health. Mental health and therapy is never standard for any person. It
Yeah,
varies from
yeah, but
condition to condition, and usually, so I'm not sure if I'm allowed to give therapeutic advice here, so I think I would refrain from that. But
oh
usually,
no, yeah.
yeah, so usually it depends from person to person. It's not standard for everyone. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for asking. All right. I think so. That is it for now. I will see you, I think so, tomorrow at the same time and using the same link. Thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Have a great day ahead. Bye bye.